In studio is Emily Brewer. Emily is a candidate for the House of Delegates, District 64. This is for the seat of the retiring Rick Morris. And we're excited to have Emily here in studio with us. There are two candidates in this race for the Republican nomination, Emily Brewer and Isle of Wight supervisor and noted tax raiser, Rex Alphen. He's also in it, been on my show. He has been endorsed by, I think, Barry Knight, who's also a farmer. And that'll basically be what this race is, because this is a Republican district, so the winner is going to win in November. It's a heavily Republican district. Emily, it's good to have you with us. You're a first-time candidate. You know, I'm excited about your campaign because I think we need new, young, fresh blood in the House of Delegates. You're a millennial. You're also adopted. And I think that you would just bring perspective, energy. I mean, we need to get young people into the party, shaking things up.
I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, you bring up the adoption point. Is I bring a very unique perspective, because being adopted, I feel like I can take such a unique fight to Richmond that I would love for someone to challenge me on. Like I've always said, as Republicans, we talk sometimes about platform and not policy. And that's what we have to change. We have to get to policy. And if that's something I can work on and be, you know, strong and on the front lines of supporting a pro-life cause such as adoption and foster care reform, I would love to be able to lead that.
Now, let's get to your opponent, Rex Alphen, in this race. He's from Isle of Wight. He's a supervisor. I've told the story, and Alphen was here with me, so it's nothing out of school. But when he first ran for supervisor, I interviewed him at the Daily Press when I was there as the editorial page editor, and I didn't back him. Whatever endorsement we gave, I forget who he ended up endorsing, but it was not him, and I don't remember the reason. It was too far back ago, too long ago. But I look at his record now, and look, we just had Aaron made a good comment. Aaron Gobranson was on. He said, we're in an era right now where we have the President of the United States that has proposed the biggest tax cut in the history of the Republic. The biggest, massive, all over the board. And you got a guy running for the House of Delegates from Isle of Wight that never met a tax increase he didn't like. He voted for every single tax increase that's ever come down the pike. How's that square?
Well, you know, it's not congruent with our values, John. It is almost a slap in the face to what Republicans stand for. You know, I look at this through a different lens totally. I think that he'd be a great candidate for the Democratic primary ballot, possibly, but not Republican values. The way I look at this is we have a president who's fighting for tax cuts. We have gubernatorial nominee or, you know, candidates and lieutenant governor candidates running on tax cuts and tax reform. How could he possibly match up on a November ballot with a Republican ticket? It would be a drag on a ticket. It's non-congruent with Republican values of lower taxes. And, you know, we're not talking about a small tax raise. We're talking 3 tax raises over 6 years. And that is
and
not
big ones.
Big ones.
Big tax raises.
Huge. I mean, we're talking about not a penny or two. We're talking about, you know, 61% increases. And you know, that hurts people. You know, when I'm knocking on doors and I'm talking to people because I'm putting in the hard work that our party deserves, you know, people are telling me that they're deciding whether they're going to pay their tax bill or buy their medicine. That is a problem. That is unacceptable. And, you know, as Republicans, it's not just about holding the line on taxes. It's about holding people accountable, studying budgets, making sure we can be fiscally conservative and cut where we can. And putting a candidate on the ballot in November that raises taxes like a liberal is absolutely absurd.
Well, also, the front runner for the gubernatorial nomination on the Republican side, not saying he's going to win, but he is ahead, is Ed Gillespie, and the centerpiece of his campaign is he's called for a 10% across-the-board tax cut on Virginia personal income taxes, and he's also called for tax reductions in B-poll and fees and things like that. So he's going to be running on if he wins, it's still a month out, he is ahead, but if he wins, Gillespie would be running on a tax cut platform, and you'd have a guy, if Alphen wins, running on a tax increase record. This doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's just counter to what you guys are trying to do.
Absolutely. And you know what? Here's the thing is we've not, in Virginia, there has not been a huge tax overhaul since 1972. Virginians right now, and this is so sad, Virginia families are paying more for food, shelter, and clothing combined more on taxes than they are on food, shelter, and clothing combined. And that's just absurd. I mean, every year I'm sure you feel it. You have JoJo and the Fräulein, and I'm sure your pocketbook feels it. Feels like there's.
Well, look, when you own a small business as you own, Emily, you know what the tax situation is. I mean, it's like April and May. I mean, we just dig out from under and just try to get through it, because when all these taxes are due, I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, you got local taxes, state taxes, income taxes, this tax, business tax, fees, this, that. And, if you don't pay them, like I live in Chesapeake, if, you have the automobile tax, right? Where we have to pay, I'm not sure if this is every city, but in Chesapeake, they do a percentage and you got to pay the fee for your car. Like you've already paid for the car. You already paid the sales tax. Now you got to pay another fee on it. And if you don't pay it, they come with those wheel locks and they just lock your wheel. I mean, it's tough to say that we're overtaxed. Okay. There's enough taxes out there for everybody. And we need to be cutting taxes, not raising taxes, cutting government, not increasing government. And Rex Alphen, who's running in opposition to you, is doing the exact opposite. Coupled with the fact that I had him on my show and I looked at some transcripts. The guy's never backed Trump, ever. He can't even say his name.
Yeah, we were actually.
Is that just me?
We were actually at a committee meeting up in Prince George, at the other side of the district, and people were open. They asked what I had done for Trump, and I had worked polls, I had done poll training, I made sure we were doing election day integrity and operations, and they asked my opponent the same question, and he said he talked about the election as social circles, and that just doesn't pass the smell test. If you can't even say the T word, we've got a problem.
Well, look, you know what? This time that we're in, I'm really looking for people who support our president. I mean, he's trying to do a sea change job up there. We're in the middle of a political upheaval. And so if you're going to bail on him at the local level and you're trying to get a nomination for an office and you're raising taxes, I don't really get what the deal is. Okay. I mean, I've had enough of that. So we'll see how it plays out. Let's go to some of your issues. We talked about this the other day. What is the main thing when you're knocking on doors and talking to people and you're asking them in their kitchen, what's on their mind? What's the main theme that comes out?
There's two major things. And actually, this is very interesting, is one of the qualifying questions people are asking is, did you support Trump? And I think people understand that our country is in upheaval. We're in tumultuous times. And they want to know that someone's standing with our president. Good, bad, or indifferent. They want to know someone is standing up for our Republican values. And that's been a qualifying question. And they also want to know what we're going to do to be able to relieve the tax burden, because people are hurting. We need to do something to stimulate our economy. And people want to know a lot about this. And one of the things I'm very passionate about is that, I've been in this area all my life, and so many people that I've grown up with have left here for job opportunity, other places. And so, we need to be able to ensure that people's children and grandchildren can continue to live, in a rural community, great place to live. But unless there's job opportunity, they can't sustain that. And people have real fears about the lack of job opportunities in the region. So that's another big issue to people.
This is from Marty Williams, who ran for Congress 3rd District, who says, Emily is the right person that we need in Richmond, protecting our rights and values.
Thank you, Marty. I appreciate it.
A very nice text from Marty Williams. We appreciate that. Also, this text is from Christy New Craig in Chesapeake, who says, Emily, this is Christy. Tell me about your General Assembly experience.
Well, over the past several years, I've been fortunate to work with Senator Cosgrove and Christie on several different issues in Richmond. And so, I understand the process of how legislation is done. And you know what? You cannot go to Richmond and expect to be an island and to be a champion for all things. And that's why I've worked really hard to build a coalition of legislators across Virginia. That way I'll have relationships to work on and deliver for the district. I feel confident in a lot of the support I've picked up across the state, and I hope that the voters also see that as the opportunity that I will, based on my experience in Richmond and working with different legislators, that I'll be able to deliver for the district. I've got many senators and delegates across Virginia. that have been so supportive. And, it's not because I'm rich or famous or, a major donor. It's because they know I've worked hard for the party. They know I've put in the legwork, and I'm going to continue to do this because this isn't about a title. This is about our party and our values. And, just June 13th isn't where this stops. We have a battle all the way through November. And the nominee of this seat is going to be responsible, and it is one of their duties to deliver, a strong Republican ticket to victory in November as well.
Right, for the whole top of the ticket.
Absolutely.
Right. Of course, you've been fighting these battles for a long time, so nobody knows that better than you do. Let's get to some policy issues. Let's start with Dominion Power. If you get elected in the House, there's going to be a movement to renegotiate the 2015 Frank Wagner rate deal. Dominion Power saying that, look, we already made the deal, rates are down, what's your beef? Chap Peterson and others saying, well, the whole thing was based on the Clean Power Plan. Trump scrapped that, so we need to get back to the table. What say you?
So this is where I think we're at on this, is that there's so much tumultuousness right now on the issue. I think we've got to delve down. We've got to really crunch the numbers and look at this top over. But you know what? It was voted in 2015. I think that I think some people are just really trying to stir the pot. Dominion invests a lot in across Virginia. They're making stances, I think, on clean power and energy, and I think that they've overall done a great job in Virginia. Obviously it would be something I look at, but until I look at those numbers, I can't make a stance on that, to be honest with you, John.
Well, their argument, which is a good one, is rates are down. Rates are down, and rates are lower than surrounding states. So I guess the opposition that wants to renegotiate the deal are saying, well, rates ought to be down more, but rates are down. So I think that makes sense. We'll have to go forward with it. I'm from New Jersey, where a deal's a deal. I mean, you made a deal, and if Hillary Clinton got elected and the Clean Power Plan was implemented and it cost double what everybody thought it would be, then you wouldn't be clamoring for Dominion to go back and renegotiate the deal to raise the rates. You'd say you made a deal. Live with it. And I just
a deal
think
is
that's
a deal,
the right
right?
thing to do. That's, I'm from a different era and a different school of thought. A deal, you shake somebody's hand, it's a deal. You sign, it's a deal. You go forward with it.
One of the things that I've been talking about a lot, John, actually, and something I want to bring up, I've talked a lot about adoption and foster care reform.
Yes.
And, that I forgot to say, that's another thing that when I've talked to people at doors, there are some things that are going on in that realm that are absolutely absurd. There are scam artists across the state. I spoke with a loving couple that were actually scammed out of $31,000 of 2 failed adoptions in Virginia. And, we've got to work on protecting these people from scam artists, from other states that are preying on folks that just want to provide a child a loving, caring home. So there's so many different facets to that I want to work on as well. And, that's something that's near and dear to my heart, obviously, as you can tell.
Look, we need different ideas and young, vibrant blood in the General Assembly. That's why I think it'd be a fabulous infusion of energy just to get your perspective. I mean, and we need to get millennials involved. And the fact that you're running for this office, you took it on, you're basically taking the whole machine on as a result of that, is commendable. And I think you got a shot in this race.
Well, and John, as you and I know, we go back. I'll never forget the night we were sitting out back in Wakefield in the district. We were sitting in the back patio.
I remember that.
Yeah, we were sitting in the back patio
Was that the 4-H club?
Yeah, the 4-H club.
Before the convention.
Yeah. Yep. You were just sitting there. We were talking about the convention the next day. I said, you know what, everything's going to be squared away. We've worked hard. We've planned hard. And, I was so excited when we actually got to go to Cleveland together and, stand together in unity as a party. But you know what? We have to have people that are showing up to support our party. And that's the difference that you do, that I do, and so many others do across our party. Because when you run for office, you're not doing this for yourself. You're asking people to believe in you. You're asking local committees to work hard for you. You're asking the women's clubs to support you and work hard for you. And you have to have a sense of humility when you're asking for that. And, you're asking those people, to toe their line of Republican values and get behind you. And so, I take that very seriously.
Well, I appreciate that. And I remember that night we were all there, you, your husband, the Fräulein, one of our staff was there.
Jack Wilson.
Jack Wilson. And I remember I was a little stressed that night because there was a lot of pressure on me from the Trump campaign in New York to deliver those 3 delegates because I was, if I lost, it was high profile. I was their state chairman. We had, raised $10,000, spent it all, and had fundraisers, and we had Eric on the phone helping us out. And we had a lot of pressure on me. And they were like, you got to deliver our 3 delegates here.
And you did.
We did. But there was a lot. I was stressed out that night.
You were pacing the back patio. I'll never forget.
Yeah.
You were pacing all night making phone calls.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Last minute to get people out.
Absolutely. But when you invest, you see what it feels like to invest all your time into something you believe in and how it's so personal to you. So you've had that same experience. You know what it's like.
Yeah, because that night, going there, Eric Trump called me up and said, wow, we're really excited about your convention tomorrow. We're really counting on you delivering these 3 delegates to us for Cleveland.
And I'll tell you what, so you gave me a hard time about picking Wakefield, but I will say I think it was the best space for the convention. And if I believe it or not, it was the quickest one in the state. We were in and out like that.
Yeah, we won, so it's all good. So I didn't like Wakefield, but now I do. John in Chesapeake. John, winning can do that, right? Winning solves a lot of issues.
Doesn't it?
And I remember the Fräulein was there, and I was pacing back and forth. I was really stressed. And she was like, dude, we got this. Remember that?
Yep.
It's like, just come, have a drink. It's 9:30. You can't call anybody. We got this. We got this. I said, okay. John in Chesapeake says, it's so refreshing to know that young men and ladies care enough about their state and the nation as to sacrifice their time and treasure Hope Springs with Emily. Isn't that nice?
Oh, thank you, John. That is so sweet of you.
John from Chesapeake. And he also says, by the way, Trump getting rid of Comey, great plan. So that's what he says.
I actually had a friend that was down at the FBI National Conference, and he said, some one morning, gone the next. So they were in the midst, I guess, of the National Conference down there when that all went down.
Okay, I've got a text here from Corey in Danville. Corey, I'll get it to you Monday. I'm out of time. I'm sorry. I just saw it, and I can't get to it. Emily, people want more information. Where do they go?
For me, it's Facebook, Emily Brewer for delegate. You can search there, or brewer4va.com, FOR, brewer4va.com.